going on, everybody? Welcome to Beyond the Scare. I'm one part of your host, Danny Royce. I'm joined by my bro. What's good, Pauly?
What's up, everybody?
What's up, and welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining your favorite scare experts as we dive into all things horror. We love talking about horror, and we know you do too. So thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and also follow us. Stay tuned for the next episodes. Be sure to check out our past episodes as well. And if you have any comments or questions or any suggestions on any of our horror topics that you want to see us discuss, go ahead and put that in the Dropbox in the section of YouTube if you're watching it there, or leave us a message on Spotify. But we're super excited to get into our film today, our new release. It just came out. Super excited, long overdue, long awaited. And let's get into it, Paul.
Let's do it. All right. So, the film we'll be discussing right now is 28 Years Later. All
Yes,
right.
sir. Woo.
So, this is the third film in the franchise. The first 28 Days Later was released in 2002. The sequel, 28 Weeks Later, was released in 2007. So, 18
Mm.
years later, we have 28 Years Later. Daniel Boyle and Alex Garland, the director and writer of the first film, respectively, are back in that same capacity in 28 Years later. They were
Goodness.
credited as executive producers in the sequel, which was 28 weeks later. So basically, a brief synopsis of the movie. It's been almost 3 decades since the rage virus decimated the population of the British Isles. Still living in quarantine, some survivors have found ways to exist amongst the infected. One group in particular lives on a small island, which is only connected by somewhat of a, like, they call it a causeway. It's like this kind of like this walkway that they can only cross in certain when the tide is low. So because the water will over um, run it and then they'll drown. So they can only cross over into the Pacific mainland certain times of the day. One of the survivors decides to venture into the mainland, and basically what ensues is basically this mutation that is spread amongst the infected. So that's going to be a huge topic, a huge discussion, I should say, that we're going to have here. But I want to get into like some standout performances before we kind of dive into everything. A huge standout for me was Alfie Williams. He plays Spike in the movie. He's the young child. We pretty much follow his journey throughout the entire movie. I thought, um, I just thought he's a really good actor. I thought that what he did with the role was great. From the very beginning, kind of, learning, I guess you would say, a rite of passage in what he had to do in becoming a man to protect his fellow survivors, and then later on, kind of taking that role of more of like, I guess you would say, a nurturer.
Right.
Another standout performance was kind of the comedic relief in the movie was Edmund Riding, who's played by Eric. He was hilarious. He was that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he, he was the one of I forgot exactly what his title was, but he was part of like a rescue team or something like that, and his ship got wrecked or his boat got wrecked,
Yeah.
and then he was hilarious. And although he was only in the movie for about 20 minutes, I thought like it was a huge standout performance for him because he's definitely going to be known for that role. Yeah, Danny, what did you think of any standout performances?
Yeah. Overall, honestly, I want to say everybody brought it. I didn't, it wasn't a performance that I didn't believe. It wasn't like any dry performances. You had some humor, you had some, obviously the dramatic aspects of it. Um, and, not every actor can play terrified and scared believably. And so everyone did it great. Like you said, Alfie was dope. He was obviously the one we followed majority of the film. and this is kind of like, his breakout role. So I would like to see what else he gets cast moving forward, especially as he gets older. Child actors are always different because they grow not only just physically, but their talent, everything. So everything just changes, right? Jodie was also great, who played Isla.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, I thought she had dementia, Alzheimer's kind of things, but turned out to be cancer. We'll talk about that more, but she did a great job,
Yeah.
just kind of with her whole illness. I also want to throw out, my flowers to Ralph Fiennes because I do love me some Ralph. We seen him on the Conclave menu, The Return. Like
Many
he's
places.
he just plays amazing and whatever he does, but he's
Yeah.
always if he plays that kind of creepy, like nerdy person, like that's just his home. So I really enjoy like pretty much all the characters. I would say Dr. Kelson um, and Eric were my favorite. Eric. Uh,
Yeah. Eric.
he was funny. He was really funny.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
He brought a refreshing new like energy to the film. I think if they didn't have Eric in there, it would have been just kind of one note.
Mhm.
Uh, Most of the time, not all the time, but similar like one note. He brought some good color into that into the film, so I
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Yeah, and kind of touching on that also, I feel like that's something new that they brought into the franchise because you don't really see that in the first or second. At
No,
least, that one person that's basically driving that comedic relief, everything like that.
right.
And just to further, like to kind of start off with, I want to talk about the tone of the movie. Um,
Hmm.
so the tone was even different from the first and the second one. You know, obviously the story's a little different, right? But to me, so at first it started off. The beginning was similar to 28 Weeks Later. You know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
that same kind of beginning, what happens, and everything like that. But then throughout the movie, the tone just like is different. It's more it's more up and down, I guess you would say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely, like you said, it wasn't one tone or anything like that. But it definitely just brought a different like feel to the franchise. I feel like,
Mhm.
especially when you look at the dynamic of um, Spike in the movie with his father Jamie, and
Yeah,
then with his mother Isla. You know, the tone completely changes. In his relationship with him versus relationship with his mother, and something that I noticed in the movie also that really wasn't present, or it was present, but only to an extent,
hmm,
was kind of this emotional, like uh, caring mankind aspect, that's still there, you know,
right,
28 years later. In the
right.
first one we saw that wasn't really the case, right? The second one,
Hmm.
we saw it. They tried that, when the outbreak happened, and then they tried to only kill the infected and save the people that were still fleeing and everything. But then ultimately they're like, all right, we have to kill everybody. So we saw that there. So them trying to like, you know, show this like, oh, we're still human. We have to do what we can to help each other. And then, like I said, in the first one with the soldiers that appeared, they were trying to help people, but really they just wanted, the females um, to repopulate and everything like that. Here
Hmm.
in this one, we see that they took that home. You have Alfie, actually looking at things differently, and then the doctor, he's actually living amongst the infected. He found a
Right.
way to actually live with them, and I mean, I don't want to say like have relationships or anything, but it's like he's trying to like bring forth some type of normalcy. You
You're
know what I
right.
mean? And it's yet to be seen whether or not that's successful or not. But that's what I noticed
Yeah.
right away.
It's interesting how you brought that up because I was actually speaking earlier with one of my clients as well, and just telling them it was kind of he laughed because it sounds funny when you say it. I was like, it was a family horror. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It
to
was
me.
literally like a family. It was a family horror. Like it really, like you said, the humanity part of it. Just following Spike and the journey with his mom, and like yeah, of course you had the aspect of the virus and the blood and the gore, but it was very like family friendly as a part from like the relationships and stuff like that. Even with the infected, they were like family. They they were like protecting each other. They
Mhm.
had an alpha, and like it was very interesting. So I was like thinking the first one was, kind of like control. Let's control this thing. Let's keep this thing from getting any further or whatever. The second one was like maintain. So let's maintain the control that we started and that we have. And I feel like the third one is like rebirth. It's like it's a whole different story, honestly. And I found that I liked it. I had fun with it because it was more you cared more for the characters. You cared about the relationships. And like you said, the doctor, we'll talk about this monument, and I want to bring that up, but he was pretty much creating a memorial for these lost people and these lost souls and like doing what he can. And I thought it was so interesting how, even with the iodine on the skin and like all these different things that people learned how to kind of coexist with what's going on because no one's come to save them. It's been quarantined off, and they're all left for dead. So I thought that was very interesting. And I liked it. I liked how
Yeah,
they tied it all together.
definitely, definitely. I want to point out some cool parts or like parts that like stood out to me as notable, and we can kind of discuss those. And
Hmm.
um, so definitely, definitely the celebration when Spike and Jamie came back from his successful kill. Um,
Right.
that was hilarious. Him telling the story. It almost like it 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 almost reminded me of you know, do you remember in The Walking Dead when they would like celebrate killing a zombie? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like throw a party and stuff like that, and like
Hmm.
especially amongst like Negan and his crew.
Right.
That's what that reminded me of.
It did.
And it's more, and then you can look at it two ways, right? It's like one way, all right, so Alfie is his rite of passage. Everyone's very proud of him and stuff, making it to the mainland, getting his first kill and stuff, because ultimately, they have to go that way to, for resources and everything, right?
Hmm.
So that's the good side of it. But also, you look at it like, all right, well, they're actually celebrating the fact that they're still killing these infected, which
Right.
you know obviously they got the short end of the stick in regards to what's going on. So, what did you think
Hmm.
of the celebration aspect of it?
Yeah, that was that was crazy. It was a lot, even with the uh you know, I'll get into it shortly, but like the cinematography aspect of, like the cuts and all that stuff. It was they were really doing it. I mean, you know, uh I felt I felt reminiscent of The Walking Dead, but also I'm blanking on the name of the film. But that whole like celebratory "he's now a man" type thing,
Mm,
um, which
right.
which I you know which I thought was done well. Um, and then we see that James, the dad, he's feeling a little lonely, and he's you can tell he probably haven't had none in a long time, because he snuck off with old girl, and then that's what led to Spike just not trusting his dad
Mhm.
with anything he says after that. He doesn't know what's a lie, and and I feel like that's when we start seeing Spike uh, isolate himself from everyone.
Mm,
It was right there in that moment. And then he's like, it's just all about me and my mom now because I want her to be better.
right.
Uh, but I want to get into shortly. just the cinematography aspect of it, because I'm sure you could tell, like it was the same kind of grainy, image that the first one was in, and then the second one as well. So it's not like very clear and your high tech footage. And majority of the film was filmed on an iPhone 15 Pro Max. That was the majority of the footage was filmed on that. So you don't need all these, high tech equipment and high cameras and all that stuff to make a good film. But then it was just pretty much just that and drones that they use. A couple different iPhones. So, you can imagine everybody on set just iPhone. Oh no, that's the camera. It's like you get your phone, you think about the text. No, that's the camera. Don't move it. But yeah, it was. I just wanted to touch on that because it's very unique and cool. That we're doing that. We're bringing it back to kind of the simplicity of filmmaking. Um, and then at the same time with cuts. And what do you feel about it? Because they did that a lot on the first one. I'm trying to remember on the second because, as you know, second one wasn't my favorite. But like the cut to the wars to the all
Yeah.
this stuff. So yeah.
So I was actually gonna mention that. It's like, so as we know, Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, they directed the first film and
Mhm.
this one, right? So they
Yeah.
took a step back for the second one. So
Right.
you can see the similarities there. You know what I'm saying? Because the
Yeah.
second one didn't have as much as what you were talking about. It was almost, I mean, you can definitely tell it's a different film, but you can also, if you actually watch them back to back, you can see the differences and, like you were saying, cinematography and just like angles and everything like that. But something I wanted to touch on in regards to this one, 20 years later, was I really enjoyed the flashbacks to like what happened on the mainland. Like,
Yeah.
what did you like? Did you like that too? Because it was literally just like um, Jamie and Alfie, are walking through a certain spot on the mainland, and then they show what happened there. With was it a deer head on the nailed
Hmm.
on the tree? They showed like
Yeah.
how that happened and stuff like that. And I thought that was really cool because it was like, not only was it a flashback of like you seeing what happened, probably years prior or whatever it was, but just how they did it. It was like the red, the dark, and stuff. And
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that.
It was very reminiscent of the first one.
Hmm.
They were probably like, that second one y'all done messed our stuff up. Let's come back. Let's come back and do this the right way. Now, hats off to Jeremy Renner. I love him, but that second one was not my fave.
Yeah, and
Um,
Idris Elba, they had a lot of like
they had
names
a
in
lot of
there.
names. Yeah,
Like,
a
but
lot of
like we
names.
discussed in our previous episode, that doesn't make a good movie.
No, it really doesn't. The names may bring the people, but they gotta stay. Um, but yeah, and yeah, it's just like you said, and then they also did that kind of play with Isla when she killed
Yeah,
the fat one.
the yeah,
And she just blanked out. She didn't even know
yeah,
what happened.
mm,
And then they showed it. That was pretty cool, the
yeah,
flashback.
mm,
But I was just like, that was wild because I'm like, first off, I just want to say that Spike pissed me the hell off in the like in the beginning of the film, only because I was like, you need to get it together, bro. Like, kick in. I know it's his first time out in the mainland. I get that.
uh,
Terrified, scared, all that stuff.
right,
Just say like he was too young for one. And then two, it's like, okay, if you're gonna escape with your mom, why are you sleeping on the ground?
right,
Get a higher place to sleep.
right.
And then why, like, you got to look out, because
More,
your mom's
yeah.
sick. Your mom's sick, so you have to,
More
why are
importantly,
you even
why?
look?
More importantly, like, why are you sleeping? There's always a
Right,
lookout.
exactly.
There's always a
Right.
lookout.
There's always
But
got to be a lookout. So I'm like, what? I was just kind of annoyed with him at first because I'm like, okay, bro, get it together. Like, I know you're a kid, but come on now. Like,
right.
and then so she saved his ass, which which the dude was
Yeah.
so close.
And there's a lot to unpack there too, because so I mean that kind of shows you who Alfie is and who he's becoming, because
Right,
he went out with his dad, with one mindset and everything like that, but he wasn't very comfortable doing it. Even when he like was successful with the kill and everything after that, he didn't really feel like good in that element, in that
right.
environment. Then flip side, he goes out with his mom, knowing that he's not comfortable in that environment, but his love and wanting to like, make her better and everything makes him endure this
Right.
environment and not be scared or anything like that. But it's that nurturing side of him. So it shows
Hmm.
that like you know, he's not following in his dad's footsteps, so to speak. He's
Right.
gonna be more of
Yeah.
his mom's. And then
Yeah. I like that.
yeah. And then to
That's
and
when I
to
started to like Spike more.
mm, yeah. And then like in that regard, also like kind of talking about the those are the first I think that yeah, I think those are the first infected we saw on the screen were the
The fat
slower,
ones.
like fat ones and stuff like that. So
It was a whole family of them.
yeah, it
And
was,
they
right?
just
Because they
kept
let the
coming.
daughter go. I don't know if you kind of like noticed this or not, but okay, we're gonna get into alpha, right? Because that's gonna be
Yeah,
a big
of course.
a big
Of
discussion,
course.
right? But so that kind of, makes you think and everything. So obviously there has to be betas and stuff like that and
Oh
everything
yeah.
like that. You know what I mean? There's basically a pack. So the film did a good job at showing you 28 years later what's happened, to the infected. Have they evolved? Have they formed like these subclasses of, I guess, like
Hmm.
people or, infected, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
And then you have at the very bottom, which I think that's what we saw with the family, the fat ones, they were eating
Right.
worms, they were
Yeah.
slow, they were eating like, I mean, they couldn't really
Well,
walk. Yeah, they couldn't hunt. So they weren't on the level of like, I guess you would say the evolve and everything like that.
right.
So you see like the differences in 28 years later and what's happened similar to real life in humans, what can happen
Hmm.
28 years later, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I thought that
The
was very
evolve.
interesting, like the parallels there.
Yeah, I loved how they showed the virus evolving,
Mm,
because it definitely did, and depends on who's the host of it. It can
mm,
only evolve how much the host can evolve. So
right.
yeah, it was that was crazy seeing them, and then the aspects of the different ranks, and not even the different ranks, but the different like groups of
Mm,
infected. You know what I mean?
right.
Which was interesting. Um, I think we we gotta do it. We gotta do it. We gotta get into Samson, out, aka Alpha.
All right, now it's time. Now it's time to talk about Samson.
The as you see, like all over the internet, the hung runner, all this stuff. I'm like, that was a lot. It was all
It was
ah.
like too much, and like I like it was just too much. And I did read what it was like a prosthetic, but still, like they just went like a lot with that.
I was like, am I watching the Tyler Perry show or am I watching? Okay, I'm like them thing. That was crazy. But yeah, speaking of Alpha, okay, so let's talk about him. So they killed an alpha. So as you know, there was like so that made us like see that there are different packs, and some of them have like different alphas, right? And so one was killed on the straight, going to when they were running
When they're
back to
running back. Yep.
the island. And then this one, Samson, it just keeps popping up, and like he gets pissed off when they kill the lady on the train, which we'll get into like the pregnancy and the infant and all that. But he just was like so strong, so fast, nothing can take him down. So I'm just like, they said that the virus was kind of like a steroid. That's what, remember that kind of correlation they made.
Yep.
But I'm like, it's not a steroid in everyone, so it doesn't mean like what that host, like when that host did get infected, how they were
Right.
originally.
Yeah.
The virus pretty much takes that and amps it up.
Hmm.
Um, so that's how we got Samson, or other alphas, I should say. But my thing was, if you are constantly knocking this guy out, so that he's like dazed, take him out.
Why didn't you kill him? I
Chop
literally
his
like
head
said
off.
that multiple times in the movie. I was like, okay, why don't you just kill him?
Right. Like,
But
well, like I don't understand. But then, I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, so the doctor, like, he wasn't into killing
no, yeah,
any
that's
of
the
them.
whole point. Yeah.
Right. He's meant to, he wanted to live
Live
amongst them
amongst
in
them.
this, yeah, and make it work so that
Mhm.
he's not always trying to kill somebody. He's not always trying to,
Be killed.
fend someone off, or he's not on survivor mode every time.
Mhm.
So it was like, okay, if I take out this alpha, not only one, there'll be another one that rises, but two, these infected won't be as constructed as they are,
Mhm.
and it'd probably be worse for the doctor in that case because then they would be they would be scattered.
Yeah.
So I think he was thinking of the long term, but I was just like every time, like you said, every time I
Mhm.
was like, take this nigga, take him out,
Take him out. That's
take
exactly what
him
I was
out.
saying.
He
Exactly what
just
I was
keeps
saying.
coming up everywhere.
Yeah.
He's like the nemesis on Resident Evil Part 3 that
Resident
just
Evil.
keeps coming in every room.
Stars.
So I'm like, come
No, that's
on.
exactly what I was saying. I thought about it. I was like, well, as we you know are as we are introduced to the doctor and everything, we start learning, how he is, who he is, just like everything he's doing. I mean, he's trying to
Right.
coexist. And like I said, it's yet to be seen if that's actually possible.
Hmm.
But going back to what you said, whether or not, it's something genetically that the virus kind of like, like meshes with or encounters or something that makes, you know, Samson, that just like this alpha breed of infected. I
Right.
think they took that from the second one. That's like the one thing that they kind of did incorporate in this one.
Hmm.
Because in the second one, there was that like was it like a variation? So the mother had it and the son had it, where their eyes were two different colors or some type of
Oh
genetic,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And when they were infected, they didn't turn. They could still pass on the virus, through saliva or blood contact, which we saw, but
Yeah.
they didn't turn into flesh eating, hemorrhaging, crazy people
Right.
because of that particular genetic conditions that they had. So I think they kind of incorporated that in this one to, obviously spin a little bit. But I think it's very interesting to see where that goes, um, especially in the later entries. As we know, the next one will be released in January, called The Bone Temple.
2026, the Bone Temple. It
Mm-hmm.
already been shot, so
Mm-hmm.
it's in post production right now. And I just want to talk about also um, the baby, the infant.
Yeah.
The placenta protecting from the virus,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. The doctor was like, I always wondered about
Right.
that.
That
So,
was funny.
so apparently it's happened. So, like, definitely, I think, the kid's gonna be on Bone Temple.
Yeah.
You'll see them grow up or her grow up. That was crazy because we also saw the humanity still in the woman because she was under so much pain
Yep.
and the virus just didn't know what to do.
Yep.
And so like, you got Isla
You could
reaching for her hands and they locked in. That was a beautiful
It was
moment.
crazy.
And
Yeah.
I thought she was dead. And I was like, oh, okay, at least she died, like that. And then she pops back up and it's
Right.
like, okay, the virus is back and it wants to
Right.
spread. Um, but I was like, dang. So that was a sweet moment. And then I wanted Eric to be in the film just a little longer. I
Hmm.
felt like I told you, I felt he was such a refreshing.
Yeah.
Him and Spike joking around with his ex's picture, and
Yeah. That was
then
funny.
Spike just not knowing because he's born on
Yeah.
the island and so he's just
He's
like
like, what's
not
wrong with her
knowing
face?
anything. Right. He's like, oh yeah, my friend has an allergy and it just pops up. It's like, no, that's called collagen.
Oh man, that was funny.
He didn't know what a lot of things were. So it was just like fun just seeing that. And
Yeah.
then Eric just loses it because he's
Yeah.
done with this. And he's just like, I'm gonna kill all of y'all if you don't let me kill that baby. But I was like, at the same time, what's the baby gonna do? Like how
Right.
it's gonna get up and run and eat you. You know what I mean? So and then we saw Eric's demise, um, which was
Bye,
also
Samson.
right by Samson, which was crazy. What is his deal with just ripping people's like heads off of their spine? Like he gets off on that, right? Like he does it so
No,
many
right.
times in the film.
So, touching on the baby, I want to talk about this is like one of the first times that we actually see um, the true birthing of a baby and the umbilical cord. In
Yeah.
most movies, we don't, at least horror movies, we don't see like that. You're like, oh, where's the umbilical cord? What happened?
Right. It just
So we,
comes out.
yeah, yeah, we see all that happen. So that was pretty cool. And then to kind of touch on that, it's crazy because it's kind of like you start comparing movies and stuff. And if you remember, what was it? Dawn of the Dead,
Oh
when
yeah,
that
that's
woman
exactly
was,
what I thought
yeah,
about.
that woman was pregnant and she gave
Yeah.
birth. That baby was a zombie. You know what
Was
I
it was
mean?
that?
So because of that virus, obviously affected. Obviously there are different variants, right? And viruses,
Right.
everything, a different universe. But I'm just saying it makes you kind of like think about it, like, oh wow, so what's going on with this rage virus that a pregnant woman can still give birth to a healthy baby?
Right.
I mean, assuming it's healthy, right?
Assuming.
We don't know
Yeah.
if it's in the blood and later on it's gonna, attack it. We don't know what's gonna happen until the future
Right.
installments. So that is something to think about. But like
Yeah.
I think a theme of this entire movie in which they say too, I think the doctor coins it, a mental amoris, we all must
Yeah.
die, right?
We almost died.
And I think
Mhm.
that was like the theme of this, and it's very important, especially the later half of the film, and when basically Spike accepts the fact that his mom, has to do what she has to do, and she,
Right.
isn't gonna survive and everything like that.
Right.
So I
Yep.
thought that was
We
pretty cool.
almost died, and he's at the end. We almost loved.
Hmm.
So,
And
but yeah,
at
one.
the
Was that?
no, it's like, and at the end, like when he puts her skull on top of sunrise, I thought
Oh
like,
yeah.
I thought of everything, like I said,
Oh, it's perfect.
cinematography, how they
Yeah.
just like wrapped everything up in a nice little bow. I thought it was great.
Yeah. It was very, poetic at the end for
Hmm.
sure. Um, just one. I wanted to go one thing with that infant though. They've been eating for 9 months. They were eating animals and flesh and dead flesh and all this everything that she ate.
The
So I
baby,
was just like, it's gotta be something that's
yes,
wrong with this baby. It's gotta be
has to
something
be
wrong with it. It can't be perfect. Like
right.
I don't buy it, but I'm glad that it came out healthy. Also, so for I want to get on before we wrap up this great movie and the third installment of the series, Jimmy. So
Yes,
right off the bat, as we open the film, that was just crazy too. Jimmy's in there watching, with his friends, and then all of a sudden they just break in. Good thing he's behind the door. Everyone is just getting towed up.
yeah,
His mom tells us to run. His dad's a priest. He goes there to the church, and his dad is at this point of where it's like this is pretty much foretold. This is the
this is
Book of Revelation.
this
This
is
is
what's
it.
gonna happen.
You know what I mean? So he was ready to give himself up. Um, and so Jimmy runs, and we see throughout the film, right, things about Jimmy. We see things written saying, he's coming in the clouds. We have a body hung upside down, and Jimmy's written on it. All these little things where it's like, okay, is Jimmy like thinking himself as the Messiah now? Like, and then we at the end, we full circle, Jimmy is back with his group, which is the craziest group. I don't know where he met these
Like a
people.
cult.
Like it's a cult, but this is so crazy. Like it's a cult out of Malibu's Most Wanted. Like I'm like, what is going on?
but, but
With the chains, the
yeah,
track suits, the ring.
but
Like I was like, where are we?
but honestly, when I saw that, I was like, I would probably be part of this group because I'd just
Yeah,
be
you
ready to
probably
kick
would
some ass.
because
I
they
mean,
were
kick his
tearing it up, right? I was like, they seem fun, but just surviving and thriving on the mainland with all these jewels and ring, like you can seriously tell they know their way around. They've been doing what they do for a long time.
Mhm.
They had tactics and different weapons and stuff like that. So I'm just very curious to see, um, you know, moving forward how this plays in the next installment. And the three James, well, Jim obviously is short for James. So you have Jim in the first one, that was played by Killian Murphy.
Mhm.
So his name was Jim. The dad in this one was James, and the son was Jimmy. So I don't know. There's three. I don't know if Danny Boyle, if they did that on purpose, if they're trying to tell us something. I saw some things about like the prophecy in the New Testament with the Apostle James. So like I'm just, it's kind of interesting
Mm,
seeing that all come together. And I was like, wow, so this is the boy in the beginning.
mm.
And he's just he wearing this upside down cross and like
Right.
it was just an interesting scene. Very
It
interesting scene. But
was.
they saved Spike's life.
Right. And I was just like, it's kind of like I was waiting for that moment almost the entire movie because I was just like, where's the little boy? What happened to the little
Right.
boy? When are we gonna see the little boy and stuff like that? So I thought that was like a good basically ending point to obviously thrust us into the next entry. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, like the beginning, like I said, the beginning was so similar to the second one. You have the infected just bombarding in this house and just ripping
Yeah.
everybody apart and everything, and then you have one survivor. You know what I mean? Just escape. So I do like how they did that because basically it just sets the tone for the entire movie. But although, like I said, in this one, the tone is kind of up and down. You experience different like emotions, feelings, and stuff like that, which I thought was also great for them to do. I feel like that Jimmy's gonna be. He looks like he's gonna be a funny person. He looks like he's lost it a
Yeah.
little bit,
Yeah.
being
He did.
everything that he's went through, obviously, but also being on the mainland for so long and stuff. I feel like this is like a crazy group, and they're gonna be funny, and they're gonna add to that comic relief that Eric
Oh yeah.
did.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, I'm excited about it. So
Yeah.
I guess
So overall,
the time
hmm,
is now. Like, what did you rate the movie?
yeah, overall, I would say, I mean, I really enjoyed it. Um, I would say an A minus, honestly. I um I didn't find anything to write or grumble about. I love how it just kind of brought us back to the first one. You know what I mean? The same type of vibe and how they're going. I'm excited to see them, push forward through the series. Um, Knowing that they already got the third one, or I'm sorry, the fourth installment shot. I would give it a A minus.
Nice.
You know
Yep.
me and my zombie apocalypse movies. They're some of my favorites.
No, yeah. So I mean, I really enjoyed the movie, and I enjoyed like the ride that they took us on and everything like that. Um, I would say I'll probably give it an A, just a little higher, um, because like I said, I felt like they did a great job at just like delivering everything. Um, and I can't really find something that I could like say, okay, I don't understand this, or oh, okay, why did that happen? There's obviously questions about certain things, but we know that that's going to be explained later.
Right.
Because you know what I'm saying. Um, but even the questions that I do have, there are really good, assumptions that can be made, or theories.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
yep.
exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I thought it was great, like I said. And there were moments, I would say, moments where I kind of zoned out. And I would say that's probably where the A minus comes from. Because you got to keep my attention 100% if you're gonna get that A plus.
Uh,
But there were moments where I would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm back." You know what I mean?
No,
That type
so
of.
it's funny you mentioned that because that happened with me too. But I think it was more so at the beginning,
Mhm.
when Alfie and his dad were like on their little like
Yeah, they're on
thing,
their
like
little thing. Yeah,
adventure and stuff. I think
yeah.
those certain parts of that I was just like, all right, like, but
Right. That's very true. Well, that was a great recap of the film. Please, guys, if you like just a good horror film, like I said, this one is got a little family-esque to it,
mm,
a little zombie apocalypse. Um, Go check it out. 28 years later, it's in theaters right now, and we're gonna talk about some of our classics because this is the moment of our episode where we get into some of our favorites
yes,
that and classics, installments, whatever that kind of tie in the same theme of our new release film. So I'll go first. I had to bring this one in. This is one of my all-time favorite zombie apocalypse movies, virus, whatever, what have you. World War Z.
Uh,
Okay. Yes, let's get into
you said
it.
okay.
Let's get into it. So, World War Z, it was actually rated 67% on Rotten Tomatoes, 7 out of 10 on IMDb, 82% overall like this movie. Okay, so it's high up there. If you can get above 80 or 70%, you're really good. So it's when a former UN investigator, Gary Lane, or Jerry Lane, excuse me, played by Brad Pitt, and his family gets stuck in an urban gridlock. He senses that it's no ordinary traffic jam. His suspicions are confirmed when suddenly the city erupts into chaos. A lethal virus spread through a single bite is turning healthy people into something vicious, unthinking, and feral. As the pandemic threatens to consume humanity, Jerry leads a worldwide search to find a source of the infection and, with luck, a way to hold it spread. So, which is crazy because this came out on the 21st, so a couple days ago, 12 years ago. So, very, very just amazing film directed by Mark Forster. It's adapted from World War Z, the actual book. So, a lot of times when books turn into films, it gets kind of lost in translation. I think this one did an amazing job. Paramount Pictures released this, and reason I love this film because it brought a new aspect to the zombie apocalypse genre. These are the fastest MFs that you've ever seen, like crazy. So the survival heightened, the risk was so much heightened in this one because they can sprint as fast as like a BMW. Was crazy. They also climb, and they climbed over, the walls of Jerusalem for crying out loud.
That part.
Um, it was yeah. It was just so, and the way I think it took 15 seconds. No, it took 5 seconds. Yes, because I remember he was counting 1,000, 1,000. Took 5 seconds to spread. And and 28 years later, that was, quick too. But this spread was just like it's crazy because like literally it took them down. They started convulsing and then getting up and going. Like it was just like it was so crazy. I was literally on the edge of my seat the entire time. And then this is the first time where we also see the weakness, which is a different weakness of a virus other than taking out the head or the heart. We had a weakness of the virus not wanting to infect someone who deems weak. And so that was that part of the film that was like really cool in my opinion. So, it wouldn't touch anyone with cancer. It wouldn't touch anyone with, Alzheimer's or any type of illness because it detected and it wanted something that it could thrive, So that was the weakness of this virus that took them a long time to understand. And then they had to like infect everybody with with the illness. So overall, I loved World War Z. It will always be special in my heart. We don't often see Brad Pitt in a role like like this either. I think this is was his last horror film, if I'm not mistaken. Um,
I think so.
and it was just a breath of fresh air. I really enjoyed this movie. The action, the cinematography, also having and they had alphas and you see the different clicks and stuff like that. But this thing was crazy. There was really no containing this. And so that's why I was like, World War Z, we're literally at the end, um, trying to get this rebirth. So the only thing they could do was slow it down.
Mm.
What did you
Yeah,
think about the film?
I enjoyed the film too. Like I feel like that the like what you were saying, that's just, excuse me, that just like embarked on such a new like theme and idea for me. You know what I mean? That a virus is actually being picky as to,
Right.
like,
That's
like
what I'm saying.
It was like something you wouldn't like fathom until like, they actually did. And I mean, yeah, the concept of it, I mean, it makes sense and everything like that, but it's just like, in every other, virus related movie, zombie-esque movie, the viruses, they don't discriminate. So,
No,
seeing this,
no.
it was, and even in real life, so it was very interesting.
Right.
Um, and then I just think like the themes, survivalism, fear, uncertainty, those were like prevalent in this movie. And I felt like you said that, like you said, the stakes were much higher. And it was like basically like it's almost like not fair. Like there's no escaping at all. You
It
know what I
was. It
mean?
really wasn't.
Yeah.
It really
Um,
wasn't.
I think that's a really good pick.
Yeah, it was super good. I really like I said, I can probably sit down and watch this, numerous times. Um, and I do want to say that I was super excited for it was supposed to be a trilogy. That was the whole plan. Which it had so many unanswered questions in the first one, things you could probably like kind of use your imagination and stuff like that. But like Patient Zero, where it started, like all this different stuff. Um, it could have explored more on, but it was canceled in early 2019. And it just, budget cuts, all this stuff, and it just never picked up enough momentum for Paramount to say a green light the next two. So there it is. We lost it at 2019. But who knows what the future holds. But yeah, that's my hope still remains that we may get into and bring back Brad back, let him do his thing. But yeah, that was my pick. So what about yours? What's your classic?
Oof. My classic is a scrumptious one. And it is Quarantine from 2008.
Come on, quarantine. Oh my Lord.
Right. I just want to start off like, if you haven't seen this film, I'm disappointed in you. All right. So, so Quarantine was released in 2008 and was a remake of the 2007 Spanish film Wreck. It
Mhm.
follows a reporter who's played by Jennifer Carpenter and her cameraman, played by Steve Harris, assigned to a pair of Los Angeles firemen who follow a distress call to this apartment building where they discover a deadly mutated strain of rabies, which is spreading amongst the entire building's occupants. And basically, escape becomes impossible because the CDC comes and the government basically encloses them in there. They lock them in there. So the disease can't spread. So basically the pair continue to record the events as it unfolds, which basically is just like disaster after disaster after disaster. Like first of all,
Mhm.
this film really excited me because it's a film that was literally taken from the footage, right?
Mhm.
We've seen that in other movies, such Blair Witch, even Paranormal Activity, stuff like that,
Right.
to an extent, right? But this is like this movie. The emotions are so high, the acting's phenomenal. I mean, and you see what happens when you put individuals in a enclosed area with something like this occurring. You know what I mean? This could definitely happen, and you just see everybody just like and basically people turning on people
Mhm.
what they would do to survive. So not only were Jennifer Carpenter and Steve Harris in this film, but also Columbus Short, which
Yeah.
Danny I know that you have worked with before,
Mhm.
Jay Hernandez, and again Jonathan Shake, who we talked about
Yes, your
in a
prom night
previous
one.
episode. Yes, Prom Night. So another interesting thing about this movie is it features no actual musical score. It's just like the footage, their screams and all that and everything like that. So it differs from any other like movie out there. The film received positive reviews from the critics. It grossed over 41 million worldwide with a $12 million budget, so it did pretty
Mm,
good. Um,
yes.
and so, I already kind of explained why I like the movie and everything, but I thought was also very important for a movie like this. I like the shocks and like the scream, the shock factor and like what's going on. And I felt like there were many, many of those in the
Oh
film.
yeah.
Um, you know, every second, from I think that was Johnson Shake that got infected, and then like he fell onto the floor from the second, and you didn't see it happen. You didn't know it was gonna happen. It was so
Dude,
sudden, like it just like
yeah.
boom, and he just like failed. And how he was still alive, which is unfortunate for him, but
Right.
um, and then how the virus, how it spread and everything like that. For those of you that are familiar with the Quarantine franchise, there is a second one that was after this one, which was good too. But I mean, Quarantine's a classic. The second one, I believe, had to do more of it was like a plane or something that they had to quarantine. But yeah, I love the movie. I loved how it was shot. I loved how it was believable. And I love that there are many jump scares. And I liked how basically, obviously, you're seeing the footage and everything, but it starts from the very beginning, like them shooting the fire department, seeing how their day to day goes. They're joking around, they're playing. There's a lot of
Mhm.
like banter between them and everything, and you even have the cameraman Harris, who's like, I'm not doing that. I'm not jumping down that thing. It's just like really like funny and refreshing and like things you want to see in the movie before it takes like a dark turn. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's not like dark completely throughout the movie. It's not like funny completely out the movie. So this is like also a movie that like you said about World War Z. I would like sit down and watch like whenever because I feel like
Yeah.
it's just really good. And even though I've seen it so many times, like the jump scares are still intense. You know what I mean? So that's what makes it good too. What did you think
Yeah,
of Quarantine?
that's a good pick. I mean, I love Quarantine. I own the, DVD. Those type of films because it's not only, found footage, it's literally, first person. So like those type of films sometimes makes me a little dizzy, but Cloverfield, things like that.
Yeah.
But I had to stick through this one. I had to watch it. First off, Jennifer Carpenter is such a versatile actor.
Yes. Yep.
You got, she's great. She's hilarious on White Chicks, and then you see her on Dexter, a complete crazy person. Then she's on The Exorcism as like, possessed. So she's just so versatile, and I love her.
Yep.
Jared Hernandez, Steve Harris, they're all great. I really enjoy it because like this one, Quarantine, like World War Z, like 28 years later, there's probably about maybe 15 minutes of the film beginning, and then shit just, takes off. And I
Yep.
love how films are like that. It gives us a little, oh, it's grounded, oh, it's cute,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden, boom,
Yep.
you know, and everything just changes. But yeah, like you said, it till this day, I can sit down and watch that. And just when they put the actual quarantine on the building and they were trying to get out and it just was like
The shoot
that was
right.
crazy. That was
Yeah.
crazy as well as like it will always be creepy. The old guy, um I don't even know if you want to call him old or whatever. Remember at the end. So the
Oh
one
yeah.
that was the resident that never would come down, and they said like they were up there, like
Yep.
he was deformed
Yeah.
and like just in that dark room,
That was the
and
honestly, yeah, the
it
creepiest
was
part
so creepy.
because you
And then
didn't
you see
know
like
that.
this light, and he's just in the corner, and
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, because it's like the infrared light, and so it was dark in there, and all you saw was like the camera, like the
And
angle
camera
of
light.
that, like it's just like it was just crazy, and it was so good. And I read
Hmm.
that it took that actor, I think it was an hour and a half to get all of his prosthetics in.
Yeah, make that okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, because yeah, he was disgusting. He was gruesome.
yeah.
Yeah, I really did like that. It sucks that no one came out alive, obviously, hence found footage. But but I was like, man, I was really rooting for somebody.
Right, right.
I was rooting for somebody to come out of there.
Somebody,
But that
yeah.
was a great pick. I think both of our picks are just like really two top 10 of my favorite zombie
Zombie esque.
apocalypse movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Then, so we like we said before, this year we got a lot happening, a lot of different horror films, a lot of stuff to look forward to, and so we got some upcoming,
Yep.
right?
A lot of stuff to look forward to and a lot of stuff to talk about, you know, past and present and future. So the first one we're going to talk about is um, Megan 2.0. All right. So Megan 2.0 is set to be released Friday, June 27th. All right. So, and obviously, this is the sequel to 2022 Megan. The plot follows Megan, a Model 3 generative android, being rebuilt to combat a humanoid military robot built using Megan's technology that is attempting and basically an AI takeover. So um, Gerald Johnson is the director of this movie, same as the 2022 Megan movie. And honestly, I'm just gonna keep it real because me and Danny like to keep it real over here.
Yeah.
I mean, watching the trailer, I'm not that excited about it. It seems like it took a completely different turn from the original, which I don't think was a good idea. I mean, it's yet to be seen, right? But yeah, before I get your opinion and insights on it, Danny, how about we run the trailer?
Yeah, let's check the trailer out.
How do I say goodbye?
I'll admit, there were some bugs in my programming.
What the hell?
It's hardly fair to blame me for that.
It's so hard to say goodbye.
But one thing hasn't changed. I will do whatever it takes to protect Katie. What the hell is this? You put me in this plastic Teletubby?
Prove you can be trusted, maybe we'll give you an upgrade.
Mrs. Forrester, we have a problem. We're hunting an autonomous android named Amelia. She was built using your design for Megan.
How's this possible? You deleted it.
Apparently you didn't. Nothing in our arsenal can stop her. She's gone rogue, killing anyone who's contributed to her creation.
I think I did it again.
And you and Katie are next.
I know how to stop Amelia. She's getting more powerful. Soon she'll be the most dangerous weapon on the planet. Put me in a body and I'll help you stop her.
You remember what happened last time. You threatened to rip out my tongue and put me in a wheelchair.
I was upset.
Look, she wants to help us. Everyone deserves a second chance.
You would like us to rebuild a deranged robot in order to catch another one.
Would you prefer I gave you a printout that you can read at your own pace?
Okay, Megan. Time to give you an upgrade. Anything you'd like to add?
I want to be stronger, faster. Hey, so remember the time I strangled you and set the lab on fire? I want you to know that won't happen again.
Thank you so much.
And while you're at it, make me taller. All right, meat sacks. Let's get to work.
Well, look who came out to play.
I was programmed to protect Katie. The only question is, are you going to stand in my way? Hold on to your vaginas.
I don't care if she did kill 4 people. She is a smoking hot warrior princess.
I'll make you a deal. You can kill Gemma, but don't touch Katie.
Megan.
All right. So I mean, Danny, as you can see, there's definitely more comedy involved, which makes me think that they're trying to take a whole Child's Play Chucky approach
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
Megan. What do you think about Megan 2.0?
It looks like a farce to me. Like it's just I'm so confused. I don't know where they're trying to take it. Well, I mean, I see where they're trying to take it, but I don't know if it's gonna work. Not really like super excited to see it, but I'm obviously gonna check it out and we're gonna give it a try. but it's like they put up these two monsters against each other, like battling. You got her breaking down to Britney Spears. You got her on like a glider, going through the mountains. I'm just like, what is going on? Is this like a Mission Impossible? Like, is it turning it? I'm just confused of where they're trying to really drill this home. Um, but I will say, I know it's probably gonna have me laughing because I remember that one part in the trailer. He was like, she's like, you can, what's she saying? You can kill Gemma, but don't touch Katie.
Yeah, that was funny.
Like, what did you say?
That was funny. She's still protecting Katie. That's right.
Right. So I know it's probably gonna definitely have me from laughing, but I'm just like, it's interesting.
Right. Exactly. So, yeah. Well, so there's also a highly anticipated series that's going to premiere on June
Yes.
27th as well. Danny, why don't you talk about that?
Yes. Now this is what I'm all waiting for. All right. It was amazing first season. It kept its momentum all the way till now.
Yep.
Squid Games season 3
Let's
is
go.
coming. It's coming
Let's
June
go.
27th. June is a very hot month for horror, as you can see. But I'm super, super, super excited. The main character, he comes back, and he goes back in the second season. He comes back willingly to be into the game again. Excuse me. And we just see a lot happen. We see the actual guy that's like running stuff, the front man, as they call him. He gets into the games. Like it was just so many things that happened. It was so many things that happened that I was just like eye-opening in the last season, and it just is like I can't wait until this new season comes out.
Yeah.
But I think we should definitely check out the trailer.
Yep. Let's do it.
잠시 후 게임을 시작하겠습니다.
왜 날 안 죽였어? 왜 나만 살려둔 거야? 왜 나만 살려둔 거야? 뭐 하는 거야?
워인 게임하지.
이제 여기서 제발 그만해 주세요.
그럼 뭐 어떡하겠다는 건데? 여기 앉아서 죽겠다는 거야? 나가자. 우리 살아야지, 준이야. 내가 도와줄게.
하나, 둘, 셋.
456번. 아직도 사람을 믿나?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm super excited for that. It was, I don't know if you remember, there were two Korean shows that came out roughly around the same time. There was called Alice in Borderland. Yeah.
Love that show.
Right, and Hellbound. So Alice in Borderland came out actually before Squid Game.
Yep.
And it was kind of like this, symbol-esque, but the games were insane in Alice in Borderland.
Yeah.
Like that was more so
insane.
like, right, that was, and they were like made to be there. Here, it's like literally they choose to be there. You know what I mean? It's like, and they can vote to end the games, you know what I mean? But it's like we see the greed, we see the desperation, and we see all of these things in human nature, um, people turning on each other and all this stuff. And it's just a cocktail for just deliciousness. And I and I can't wait because it's the final games. And player 456 is trying to end this for good.
Yeah, he is the thorn in their side, and he's not going anywhere.
Right.
I feel like in this one, I don't know. So in season one, I mean, there was some, obviously that was the groundwork, the foundation. There was memorable characters and everything, but I feel more so in the second season, at least for me, I'm more attached to the
Mhm.
characters in this season. When the
Yeah.
second season going into the third season, I don't know if the characters were their stories were more relatable, or if the writers just put more time into developing them as characters. But I feel like that it's just it's especially season two just draw me into the characters even more.
I
Um,
agree.
and the games are just like more like you're like, oh god, what I mean, someone's gonna someone's people aren't gonna make it and everything. You're just kind of like, you hope it's not your favorite and stuff like that. Um, but I'm very excited for this. I mean, I'm gonna binge watch it like I did the previous season. So what I mean, just make sure get comfortable, get some pizza or something, and just play
Right.
it.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna binge the heck out of. Oh well, yeah, I'm gonna be over there. So
Yeah.
we may as well binge it.
You guys going out tonight? No, we're watching Squid Games.
Right. We're watching Squid Game. No, no worries. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm excited. Got two upcoming films we're gonna cover in future episodes. So make sure y'all keep an eye out. June 27th, Megan 2.0 and Squid Games 3, season 3, final games release.
Yeah.
So um now let's before we close things up, we always have to do it. We gotta, we are your favorite scare experts, so we gotta test our knowledge on horror. All right, this is the part of the episode where we ask some trivia questions to each other. We got one each, and we're gonna see how we do. Y'all can play along.
Do it.
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
You can start.
All right. So this one is this one is a zombie apocalypse question. Okay, so it's a generalized question. I think you'll do well. Um, this is a fun one. So my question to you is, when was the first time, or what movie was the first time zombies had enhanced capabilities? Meaning they weren't just walking around looking for brains. Okay. First movie they had enhanced capabilities ever on screen. Was it A, World War Z? Was it B, White Zombie? Or C, Dawn of the Dead?
What's the second one?
White Zombie.
Zombie.
So A, World War Z, B, White Zombie, or C, Dawn of the Dead?
Um, White Zombie, if it's the movie I'm thinking about, is like an old movie. So it's definitely not that. And I have to remember when, did you say Dawn of the Dead or Land of the Dead?
Dawn of the Dead remake.
Okay. So I have to think when Dawn of the Dead was released compared to World War Z. World War Z was 2013. Dawn of the Dead had to be before that. Had to be Dawn of the Dead. I want to say Dawn of the Dead was like 2008-ish, 9-ish, I believe. Yeah, I'm gonna go with C, Dawn of the Dead.
Final answer?
Yes. Yay!
Do it. Yes, that is correct.
Yes.
Dawn of the Dead was the first film released in 2004. The first film, zombies were pictured on screen with enhanced capabilities. They had and heightened aggression, speed, and running and jumping. So that was the first one. And then after Dawn of the Dead, we went
We went
crazy after
balls to the wall.
that. They were building ladders out of each other. So that was crazy.
Wait, but Dawn of the Dead was when? When was it released?
2004.
Oh, okay. Dang, I said 2008. Yeah, I knew it was earlier.
It's an oldie. It's an oldie. It came out 2 years after 28
That's
Days
my
Later.
movie.
Yes.
Movie.
Mine too. I can watch that over and over.
Definitely top 10 for sure. Okay. My turn.
All right, let's give it to
right.
me. Give it to me.
All right, this should equally be a good one, but I think you can get it. All right, so it is involved specifically with my classic discussed in this episode, Quarantine. All right.
Okay.
All right. Quarantine was nominated for 3 awards in 2009.
Interesting.
Which award did the film actually win? Okay, so it was nominated for all these, but it won only one. All right.
Okay.
First one, the Saturn Award, category Best Horror Film.
Okay.
B, the Reaper Award, category Best Zombie Film. C, Critics Award, Best Sci-Fi / Horror Movie.
Wait. You said the second one was zombie, last one was horror, scientific horror, and then what was the first one?
First one was Best Horror, second one was Best Zombie, third one was Best Sci-Fi.
Which one did it win? Well, I know it didn't win zombie because that just doesn't make sense. That'll be sci-fi or horror. Let me see. Hmm. It's Saturn. Saturn was the first one, and what was the third one?
Saturn, Reaper, and Critics' Choice Award.
Oh, Critic. Oh no, I don't think Critic Choice gonna get it. Gonna give him. And then Zombie that X's Zombie out. I'm gonna have to go with the first one, Saturn horror for 700.
Saturn Award, category Best Horror Film. Final answer?
Yeah. Final answer.
Sorry. No.
Dang. So it was 3. It was a
no, honestly, it was the first one you X'd out. It was the Reaper Award, category Best Zombie Film.
Really?
Yep. So you were right. You X'd that one out, and then you were right about the Critics' Choice. It definitely didn't even. It's best, that's Best Sci-Fi / Horror. So definitely not that one. So if you would have kept the zombie one and the Saturn one, you would have got it.
Wow.
Yeah. So in 2009, so they were nominated, but they won in 2009 the Reaper Award for category Best Zombie Film.
Okay, interesting. Like, yeah, I would not picture that as a zombie movie. Like, yeah, I get it, the virus and all that, but like, yeah.
Yeah, anything
well,
with
I guess you got to think about what other zombie films came out in 2009, which, I don't think were a lot.
Well, it's the year prior, so it'll be 2008.
2008, yeah. That's true.
I think in that category, they pretty much just look at, any reanimation of, humans would be a zombie. So I guess that's.
Well, okay, every now and then I got to get one right.
Every now and then we slip.
We slip a little bit.
Well, so I do want to, before we wrap up today's episode, I do want to touch on, again, if you have not seen 28 Years Later, go check it out. This film is actually, I was thinking about it's not like, mm, as pertains to the first and second one, it's not as um, horror-esque. There's not a lot of like gore, so to speak, besides,
Yeah.
Samson decapitating people. But, that's only two. But it's more so of like a journey. I think it's like a setup for
Right.
the next entries, which I think it did a
Hmm.
good job at keeping us, entertained, connected with the story and everything like that. So definitely should check it out. Do you have any last words about it, Danny?
Yeah, you hit it on the head. It wasn't a lot of blood and gore, but obviously the kills were cool. And it was the journey. That's
Mm-hmm.
the whole part why I was saying a family-esque,
Mm-hmm.
horror, because it was literally like you're on a journey. And yeah, I'm excited to see the fourth installment.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us and going beyond the scare with us. Danny, tell everybody where they can find you.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. You can find me everywhere at I am Danny Royce.
You guys can find me at Alpha Boys and I1. And we will see you guys next time on our next episode. As Danny already told you guys, these coming episodes are going to be really good, especially when we cover Squid Games. We're very excited about that. So, definitely check that out. If you do have time, like again, it will be released on Friday, June 27th. And make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube. And join us again when we dive into all things scary.